हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती चित्तं कारय मम विमलम् चित्तं कारय मम विमलम्। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। वीणावादिनी शुभमतिदायिनी पुस्तकहस्ते देवनुते। वीणावादिनी शुभमतिदायिनी पुस्तकहस्ते देवनुते। वर्णज्ञानं सकलनिदानं वर्णज्ञानं सकलनिदानं सन्निहितं कुरु मम चित्ते सन्निहितं कुरु मम चित्ते। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। हंसवाहिनी ब्रह्मवादिनी करुणापूर्णा भववरदे। हंसवाहिनी ब्रह्मवादिनी करुणापूर्णा भववरदे। मंजुलहासिनी नाट्यविलासिनी लास्यं कुरु मम रसनाग्रे। मंजुलहासिनी नाट्यविलासिनी लास्यं कुरु मम रसनाग्रे। लास्यं कुरु मम रसनाग्रे। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती चित्तं कारय मम विमलम् चित्तं कारय मम विमलम्। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। वंदे तव पदयुगलम्।
ओम नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वंदे तव पदयुगलम्। विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती चित्तं कारय मम विमलं चित्तं कारय मम विमलं नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वन्दे तव पदयुगलं वन्दे तव पदयुगलम् वीणावादिनि शुभमतिदायिनि पुस्तकहस्ते देवनुते वीणावादिनि शुभमतिदायिनि पुस्तकहस्ते देवनुते वर्णज्ञानं सकलनिधानं वर्णज्ञानं सकलनिधानं सन्निहितं कुरु मम चित्ते सन्निहितं कुरु मम चित्ते नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वन्दे तव पदयुगलं वन्दे तव पदयुगलम् हंसवाहिनी ब्रह्मवादिनी करुणापूर्णा भववरदे हंसवाहिनी ब्रह्मवादिनी करुणापूर्णा भववरदे मंजुलहासिनी नाट्यविलासिनी मंजुलहासिनी नाट्यविलासिनी लास्यं कुरु मम रसनाग्रे लास्यं कुरु मम रसनाग्रे नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वन्दे तव पदयुगलं विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती विद्यां बुद्धिं वितनु भारती चित्तं कारय मम विमलं चित्तं कारय मम विमलं नमो भगवती हे सरस्वती वन्दे तव पदयुगलं वन्दे तव पदयुगलं वन्दे तव पदयुगलम्
Hariam Sarvebhyah. Dhanyawadaha Lakshmi Bhagini for such a beautiful bhajan. She taught it la previous session, and Dhanyawadaha Lalita Bhagini and Raghunath Mahodaya for singing it so well. This session, we are starting a new series of satsang topic. We had started one that is Ekadashi Mahatmyam, and it has been received so well, and we have been doing it every month. Radharani Bhagini handles it so well. So one other session we are starting with respect to helping with the Parayana, because primarily we are learning so many different granthas, so many different texts. So Parayanam Kala, that it requires certain kind of efficiency, because many of us are not from the Samskrita background. So therefore, one such series is going to be called as Parayana Anukulini. So this is going to cover all the essentials that is required for effective Parayanam. So before we start, we'll just start with Guru Vandana. Apadamoli paryantam gurunam akratim smare tena vighna pranashyanti siddhanti cha manoratah. Lakshmin tanotu nitaram itaranapeksham angridvayam nigamashaki shikha pravalam hairambam amburuhadambara chaurya nigram vignadri bheda shatadhara dhurandarannaha. So today's session is one part of the whole series, and this is going to be about Sandhi Parichaya, not the whole Sandhi also, because that is also a very huge branch. So we are only talking about one part of it. So that is Sandhi Parichaya. So what is this Sandhi? We've heard of it. It exists in every language. Whether we have heard of it from the perspective of Sanskritam or not, we would have definitely heard of what Sandhi is. So Sandhi means Varnanam Atishayitaha Sannidhi. So before even we go for that, why Sandhi we have to learn, that also we need to understand. Let me just give you that. We usually learn our Shastras, any text, it can be any text. We learn our texts in 5 different ways. That is, our Shastras prescribe a certain way of learning it. That is, we learn it first through Padacheda. Then we understand the Pada Parichaya. After the Pada Parichaya, there is Padanvaya. Then Padartha, or Padartha first, then Padanvaya, then Bhavartha. So these are the 5 elemental requirements of learning a particular text, any text. So it is very methodical, and we have organized it that way. One of the best part of our Shastra Paddhati is that it is so beautifully organized. So in that, what is essential for Parayanam are 2 things. One is Padacheda. How do I separate the words? Because the organization of the words are not always in meaning, unlike the other languages. If we look at the Anglo language, or if any other Indian language also, the speciality of Sanskritam is that I can move the karta, I can move the karya. So the sentence structuring needn't necessarily be in a certain sequence. The words can move. That is the difference between Laukika and Vaidika literatures. In Vaidika, we can't move. It means the same thing. The meaning changes if we change the pada krama. So, but in Laukika, that is a normal language, what happens is we can change it. Because of this, many scriptures have changed the sequence of words. The reason why they do it is because they have to do it as per certain chandas. They would have taken it as per certain chandas, chandobadha. When they do it as per a certain chandas, what happens is they need to move the padas in a certain manner to qualify the eligibility, the conditions of a certain chandas. Like Laghu Guru Aksharas must be in a certain format. Tagana, Nagana, the Ganas, it has to be arranged in a certain manner. Because of that, they move the words in certain sequences as they like it. Like you won't find any such if you take any shlokas for that, you will not find the exact meaning if we translate it as it is in sequence. Like for example, the Mangala shloka that I said, Lakshmin tanotu nitara mitarana peksha mangridvayam nigamashaki shikha pravalam hairamba mamburuhadambara chaurya nigram vignadri bheda shatadhara dhurandaran naha. Naha is the karta actually. I am praying. That is given in the end. Rather, if we look at it in the English style of speaking, it would say, I pray. It starts in the first. It usually comes in the beginning. So like this, because of the Padakrama, we need to understand how to do the Padacheda properly. For that, we need to understand Sandhis, because most of the Padas, when they come together, they form into different Sandhis. So that we need to understand. The second element out of the 5 elements, one is Padacheda that we need to learn. Second one that we need to understand is Pada Parichaya. What is Pada Parichaya? Every Padas, now we take 2 kinds of Padas. Suptingantam Padam is the sutra that is given by Panini, but we are taking 2 kinds of Pada that we understand, that is Nama Padas and Kriya Padas. When we take Nama Padas can be in 21 different forms. The reason being, there are 7 vibhaktis and 3 vachanas. Therefore, it can be in 21 different forms. And therefore, we need to recognize those forms. That is one. The second one is, when we are talking about the Kriya Padas are in 18 forms. Initially, not completely. In 18 forms. Initially, we have to separate that 18 forms into Atmanepadam, Parasmaipadam, and then we have the Purusha, Uttama Purusha, Madhyama Purusha, and Prathama Purusha, and then we have the Linga also, the 3 lingas. So there are so many different combination it comes. So we need to understand that format, in which Vachana, in which Purusha, in which Vibhakti it is in. All these things we need to understand. Pada Parichaya is very huge. That is the reason. But initially, for the Padacheda, what is required is the knowledge of Sandhi. Now, understanding why this is Parayana Anukulini, helping us to do effective Parayanam. Now we go on to understanding Sandhis. Sandhis are nothing but Varnanam Atishayitaha Sannidhihi. Sannidhi is closeness, is Sandhi. That means it gives rise to Sandhi. Varnanam, not Pada. Padas can be in different manner, whatever it may be. Varnanam, Varnas we have to understand as syllables. When they come close together, very close, Atishayitaha, not normally, very close together, then they give rise to something called as Sandhi. Now, understanding the first question that we get in our mind is, what do we mean by Sannidhi? The closeness. Is it with respect to distance? If I give a space, is that considered as close distance? Is it Asannidhi? If I reduce the space, is that called as Asannidhi? Here, Sannidhi is nothing but the kala, the Uchcharana kala that we are taking for each syllable is going to be considered as Sannidhi. So, when two Varnas are immediately in very close proximity to each other, are pronunciated or pronounced continuously, it gives rise to a certain combination of those syllables called as Sandhi. Nothing else. So again, when we talk about Sannidhi, qualification has to be there. How close? How close should the Varnas be? So there we say, Dvayoho Varnayoho Uchcharanayoho Madhye Ardhamatra Kalat Api Adhika Kalena Vyavadhanam Yatha na Bhave Tatha Uchcharanam Eva Sandhihi. That means there shouldn't be more than Ardhamatra Kala between the Uchcharana of the first Varna and the second Varna. Question again arises, what is Matra Kala? First of all, Ardhamatra Kala is much more. Matra Kala. There are different Vyakyanas for different Matra, which explain the definition of Matra, but usually what has been accepted today is the blinking of an eye. So, Shwasa also is there, but there we are able to control. But with respect to our blinking, when we blink our eye, the blink of an eye is considered as one matra kala. So the varna, the difference or uchcharana kala between the first varna and the second varna, when it is less than ardhamatra kala, then it becomes qualified and it will give rise to something called as sandhi. That is the definition. So what is Sandhi? When the Varnas come very close together. What do you mean by closeness? When they are chanted immediately, that is when the proximity between their pronunciation is less than Ardhamatra Kala. And what do we mean by Ardhamatra Kala? It means it should be Ardha of the time taken for one blink of an eye. So this is called as Sandhi. Now, example for that is this. See, iti, api, two different words. When they come together, it forms one word called as ityapi. It is not the change of a word. This is what we need to understand. Now, when we do that iti, When we split it, it becomes E, T, and E. E, T, E. So iti. Half ta gets ikara, so T, E, T. The same way, api, a, p plus E, a, p, E. Again, pa gets E, so it is P, api. The two words are formed like this. Now, when the sandhi occurs, the sandhi is not changing the words as such. It is not changing the whole word. The resultant yakara, here we can see that there is a resultant yakara which is missing from the first two initial words. This yakara is actually arising from the closeness of ikara from iti and akara from api. That E and A, the green colored ones, no? That is ikara and akara, they are coming close together to facilitate their continuous flow, continuous ucharana. What we are doing is we are changing it, or rather it comes out in a flow, itiyapi, 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 yakara comes. So the manipulation of the syllables happen, therefore we get something called as yakara. Instead of ikara, it gets replaced by yakara. So it is ityapi, it becomes. Now here, the question when it comes to these kind of sandhis is that, are we changing the how are we changing the letters? What comes, what goes, or what is happening over there? So that means, how is the sandhi arising out of it? Here we need to understand the reason we are not making the sandhi on our own. The sandhis is a natural occurrence. The reason being, every varna has a different ucharana sthana. For me to go into, let us say, kantha, then murdhna, then danta, chanting syllables from different sthana, it requires certain flow or certain freedom for my tongue to move about in a certain way. Because let us say I'm chanting akuha visarjaniyam kantha. From kantha I am chanting. To completely chant an akara, I have to open. E is like this. So now I cannot open E, A and E. Suddenly I cannot do that. So obviously there is certain compromise between those two sthanas or the tongue that has to facilitate, and that gives rise to something called as sandhi because of the different ucharana sthanas. So how does this arise? There are four functions through which this sandhi arises. So sandhi chaturdha sambhavati. It arises out of four different forms. What is that? First one is adesha. Adesha sandhi. Adesha, we are doing a very simple thing. The two words that comes close together. So we'll have a look at this itself. See, this is called as Purvapada. This is called as Uttarapada. So here, this is Purvapada, first word, iti. Uttarapada is api. Okay. So now, the definition of Adesha Sandhi is पूर्वस्थितम अक्षरम निरस्य नूतनस्य अक्षरस्य उदयः एव आदेशः, which means the syllables which is getting closer to each other, they get replaced with another akshara. A and E and A are coming close together. They are getting replaced with yakara. That is what they are called. Purvasthitam. Purvasthitam aksharam nirasya. Nutanasya aksharasya. Yakara is nutana, new. Nutanasya aksharasya udayaha eva adeshaha. In that, now the question arises. The two syllables that is getting together, that is ikara and akara. Which is the yakara replacing? Because purvasthitam aksharam nirasya, that has to go away. In place of that, we are getting one new akshara, that is yakara. as per the example, which is the yakara replacing? So that question arises. So for that they say the definition itself is given as ayam adeshah purvasya sthane parasya sthane va syat purvaparayoho sthane api syat. That means the incoming or the new syllable can replace akara also, ikara also, both a and e also. It can replace both of them also. So we have the Purvapada, Uttarapada. Out of that Purvapada and Uttarapada, the syllables, the varnas that is getting closer together is E and A. The Sandhi or the new letter arising for the sake of Sandhi, Sandhi Karyam, is Yakara. Yakara can replace here it is replacing E because of a particular Sandhi Sutra, but the power of this Adesha Sandhi is that this new arising alphabet syllable can replace both the Purva Sthane is that Aksharam also, and then Parasya, the Purva first, Para comes next. Both the syllables can be replaced by one Akshara, or that incoming syllable can replace one of the Aksharas either way, depending on the word and depending on the sutras. So this is called as Adesha Sandhi. The categorization, this is what based on the functions, this is Adesha Sandhi. So in this Adesha Sandhi, what happens is we've given examples. So the same thing, this is actually Adesha Sandhi, Ityapi. Yakara is coming in the place of Ikara. A remains. When we are saying a new incoming Varna is coming, that is not Ya complete. It is just Ya. Vyanjana, half Ya, Halantya, we call it as. So Ya is coming, A remains. Ya plus A, Ya, complete Ya. So it, Ya, Pi, Ityapi, it becomes. So in the same way here, Ityapi, Atra Ikarasya Sthani Yakaradesha. So in this, what we are saying, there is Purva Varna is Ikara, Paravarna is Akara, the Nutana Varna is Yakara, Yakara is replacing Ikara, and then you get Ityapi. In the same way, another udaharana we are taking is Gana plus Ishaha, Ganeshaha. Here what is happening, if we see Gana as the Purvapada, Na, it is going to be split as Ga, Na, A. Ga, Na, A. Sorry, Ga also has Akar. Ga, A, Na, A. Ga, A, Na, A. Okay. And then we have E, Sha, Aha. E, Sha, Ha. So now what is happening is the Akara of the Nakara is getting closer to Dirgha Ikara. When they get closer to close to each other, Akara of the Nakara and the Ikara, they get replaced by Ekara. So A plus E, this sthana is getting occupied by Ekara. So therefore, Atra Purva Parayoho. Purva is Akara. Parayoho, Ikara. The given A plus E it is Dirgha. So Purva Parayoho, Akara, Ikarayoho, A E sthane, Ekara Rupa Ekadeshaha. Ekadeshaha means instead of both of them, only one Adesha is coming. Ekadeshaha. So these two Varnas are getting replaced by one particular syllable. So this is Adesha Sandhi. This is a function. How the Sandhi is arising, it is like this. This is one way. The second way is Agama Sandhi. Agama Sandhi is Sthitasya Varnasya Parshve Apurvataya Aparasya Varnasya Utpattihi Agamaha. Apurva means Nutana, unique, something unique, like that. So why that Sandhi occurs is when Agama Sandhis occur when the two syllables that is getting close together. In the example we have taken is pathan and asti. So in this, the syllables that get close together is nakara, that is n, that's all. Nakara and a. They are getting very close together. So then what happens? A new word is coming, but it is not replacing any other syllable. Pathan also remains. Asti also remains. A new syllable is coming to, it is like stitching together. There are two pieces of cloth over here. A new thread is sewing them together. That is nothing but nakara. So when they come together, it becomes pathanasti. That nakara is adding. So there, the function of this is very apurva. That means unique. So it is coming and it is bridging them together. It is sewing them together. So this sthitasya varnasya parshve before this, and apurvataya aparasya varnasya utpattihi. A new letter without disturbing the existing two varnas is coming to make it together to facilitate that flow. That is called as agama sandhi. So this is called as pathanasti. Here what is getting changed? A new nakara is coming. One more nakara is coming. And akara gets mixed with that. Half apurva you're getting, we are getting n only. So pathan, n, asti. So na plus n. Akara gets added to that, then it becomes pathan. Then sti. So pathan asti. A is already in that. So A is also not going anywhere. And nakara also not going anywhere. Then what are we getting? We are getting one more half nakara like this. So this is called as agamasan. After agamasan, the one more function through which sandhi arises, sandhi karya arises, is called as lopaha. Lopa sandhi, we need to understand what lopa is. Lopa is varnasya adarshanam lopaha. In fact, the in Ashtadhyayi itself, there is the definition that adarshanam lopaha. Varnasya adarshanam lopaha. What do we mean by that? The varna is not going anywhere. We are not deleting it also. We are not adding anything to it also. But because of to facilitate the flow of syllables due to closeness, atishaya, right? Closeness of two varnas, one is losing its potency of spota. That means it is not coming out. Like when we look at this, there are many others also. When we say Arjuna Uvacha, Vibhakti Karya must actually give us Arjunaha Uvacha. What is happening over there? While I write it, I know that Visarga is coming due to Vibhakti Samskriti, giving it the samskara of the Prathama Vibhakti Ekavachana Sambodhana. Therefore, it is getting that Visarga, Arjunaha. But we are not Arjunaha, we are not saying when we are chanting, Uvacha is, it's going to be Arjunaha Uvacha. Because we are focusing on chanting specifically, Arjuna Uvacha. It comes out like that. So in the same way, here also, that Visarga is not going anywhere. Because how did we get that particular Visarga? We start with a pada, that is Arjuna. Then we add the Vibhakti Pratyaya, Supratyaya over. Supratyaya gets added. Then it goes through a particular Karya, that is Subhanta Prakriya happens, where the Anunasika goes, then there are certain new additions, that Rakara comes, then Rakara, Sasajushoruhu, like that, there is some sutra. Because of that, you get the Visarga. So all that has already been made and we get a complete pada called as Arjuna. In that case, when we remove the Visarga of that Arjunaha while chanting Arjuna Uvacha, does that mean that the samskara, the Vibhakti samskara given to that pada has vanished? No, it has not vanished. It has simply taken a back seat. That means it has simply become silent for the sake of Parayana. So that samskara is not going anywhere. So in the same way, we find that over here, kavihi rachayati. Kavihi rachayati. Kavi rachayati. Visargasya lopaha. That lopaha means it is still present over there. For the other reasons, it will still come back. Only for the reason of Sandhi, for chanting it continuously, we are finding that Visarga is losing its potency of Dhvani. It is not coming out. We are facilitating the flow of speech through this kind of lopa. So lopa means adarshanam lopaha. It is there, but it has become silent. So this is one of the other sandhis, one of the categories of sandhis, lopa sandhi. Then after that we have prakriti bhava sandhi. Prakriti bhava sandhi is when the nimitta means the condition. Like for example, if I take yan sandhi, yan varnas are there, ach varnas it has to be facilitated. So at that point of time, the nimitta is there. Nimitta means the conditions are there that qualify for a new sandhi to come. But, so nimitte satyapi, it is there. Adesha abhave vidhiyate. Adesha abhave vidhiyate. So this Prakriti Bhava Sandhi is a result of some vikalpa that we have. There are options for certain words, certain conditions may not work. Hari etau. It will remain as Hari etau only, because if I try to, there is the condition for yan. There is the condition. We will learn about what yan varnas are also. We will learn about what is yan sandhi also. Yan sandhi is very popular. We learn about that as well. But here the conditions for the yan sandhi to occur is actually there. So atra yano nimittasya sadbhave api yan na pravrittaha. It has not occurred. So what is happening in Prakriti Bhava Sandhi? However, the Prakriti or the original form of two words that is coming closer together is there, it will be retained. So Hari etau will remain as Hari etau only. So this is Prakriti Bhava Sandhi. So there are 4 different ways a Sandhi can occur. First one is Adeshaha, where there is a new syllable that arises by replacing the existing syllables. Next one is Agamaha, where a new syllable comes but without disturbing the existing syllables. Then you have Lopaha, where the existing syllables loses its potency of speech. It becomes silent. And then you have Prakriti Bhava Sandhi, where the original format is not disturbed at all. However, in whichever form the original words or varnas are, it will remain that way itself. So these are the 4 functionalities. Then what, when we use these sandhis in our Parayanam, we have to remember certain things. What are those? When can we do sandhi vichheda? When we shouldn't do sandhi vichheda? Because usually when in our Parayanam, there are 3 different ways of Parayanam. We have Padapata. Padapata, each word is separately pronounced. Like for example, Sahasranamas, the names are separately chanted without regard to the chanda, in which chandas it has been composed, and the yatis and all those things. Without thinking about that, we are individually chanting the names of the deity, Sahasranamas. Then at some point of time, what happens? This is Padapata. Then we do Padapata, Samhita Pata we call it. At that point of time, we combine all the words together, after all the Sandhi Karya has taken place. Then we have to use the Chandas, and as per the Chandas rules, we are using the Yatis. Yatis are where the pauses can be taken, and each Yati has its own places where pause can be taken. So at those places only we should take that particular pauses. So Sandhi Vichheda should only happen at those places. It should not happen at every place. So, like for example, when we talk about the Anushtup Chandas should only break in the between. That is, there are total of 16 syllables in one pankti, one line. We can only break it after the 8th syllable. So we are splitting it into two parts as 8 and 8. So when there is a sandhi in between those two, that should be separated. Sandhi vichheda must happen over there. Otherwise, we shouldn't do it. This is Samhita Pata in each pada saying. Then Samasta Padas, we are talking about Sandhis. Samasta Padas, regardless of where it occurs, we cannot break it. In Shikarini, we can only break it after the 6th syllable or the 11th syllable, like that. So this is one style. Then Samasta Pata is chanting the whole shloka at a stretch. There we cannot even break anything. There sandhis must not be, sandhi vichheda must not even happen. So they have given a rule over there. So what are the smartavyam suchanani? Something that we need to remember when we think about sandhis, when we are using sandhis in Parayanam, is that sandhihi varnanam madhya eva bhavati. That means it is only due to close proximity of syllables, not the words. So there is no change in any of the word meanings or anything like that. Because when we go to samasas, there are change in meanings due to certain additions and deletions. Here, only it is a change in the varnas. That's all. And क्वचित् स्थानेषु अनिवार्यतया क्वचित् स्थानेषु विकल्पेन च भवति. I did say this. The prakriti bhava is a vikalpa of certain sandhis which cannot occur. Like there is conditions that has been qualified for yan sandhi, but we are not taking it because there it is an optional. So vikalpa here is optional. Certain sandhis are optional, certain sandhis are compulsory. Only when there is option that you can or cannot use a certain sandhi, then the direction is given. Can we retain it in its original form? Then it becomes a prakriti bhava sandhi. Or is there a special qualifying rule, sutra given to address this particular thing? So like that it is given. So when we are chanting, we need to remember where can we use the sandhis. While understanding, obviously, it is extremely important that we break it. But what happens is, since we are using scripts in such a way where the Anunasika, all those things to facilitate understanding of the words, where the script might not be capable of doing that. Certain scripts have that problem. They try to copy it exactly from the Sanskrit script. They are not able to do it. Sometimes what happens, even if we take the Samskrita Mula, certain publications have a problem where the split has already been given without understanding that Sandhi should not be broken over there. Sandhi Vichheda must not happen over there. So at that point of time, we need to understand this through this shloka. Samhitayaika pade nitya. Nitya means it cannot be broken. Samhita yeka pade nitya. That means samhita means when they fuse together. Sannidhi's close proximity, when they fuse together, they samhita, they come together. Samhita yekapade nitya. When? Nitya dhatu upasargayoho. Within a word, ekapade is within a word, samhita is nitya. It cannot be broken. One biggest example for this is samkshepa, some people say. Kshepa. Ksha is a sanyukta akshara. When we try to say it together, the makara does not actually come. It is actually some given with anunasika. It does not completely fructify. It does not manifest completely. To facilitate that, we are using the anunasika sandhi. We are saying ing. We are replacing that instead of So we get sankshepa. So now the question is, can we also say samkshepa? So there they say samhitaika pade nitya. That means within ekapade, samhita is nitya. The fuse is permanent. It cannot be undone. So sankshepa is correct. Samkshepa is wrong. So here they have specified Samhitaikapade nitya. Nitya dhatu upasargayoho. Dhatu and upasarga. Like for example, agachat. Then we add a upasarga of a again. Agachat. There I cannot separate it. When a upasarga and dhatu are getting together and a sandhi karya is happening, there I cannot undo that sandhi karya. Therefore, it is dhatu upasargayoho api samhita nitya. We should not undo it. In many of the texts, it has happened. So that is one place where we shouldn't undo the sandhi karyas. Then, samase api, we cannot undo the sandhis. Samasas result out of sandhis. Sandhi rules are also used for samasas. So in samasas means samastapadas. What is the difference? When we go to that, we will probably understand it better. But within a particular samastapada, the most popular, you can use that avagraha chinna also. Like for example, the akara gets the avagraha chinna to facilitate in certain conditions. We'll see that in the sandhis. At that point of time also, avagraha means there is an yes kind of a symbol, avagraha chinna. When that occurs also, the question is, should we say a over there when you're saying no, we shouldn't. Like for example, dharma, dharmi. No, that won't qualify for avagraha chinna. Papo, papaha. Papaha, apapaha. Okay. So when that the visarga of papaha gets a obhava, therefore it is papo. Then when it gets obhava due to sandhi karya, that apapas akara becomes avagraha chinna. It gets an avagraha chinna. Papo, papaha. Technically, it means papaha, apapaha. But because of the sandhi karya, what has happened? Papo, papaha, it has become. Now the question is, while chanting, should I say papo, papaha or papaha, apapaha? I have to say papo, papaha only. So these kind of things must be kept in mind while we are using sandhis. So within one word, when we are bringing the upasarga and dhatu together, when we are having a samastapada, sandhi vichheda must not be done. Then when can it be done? Vakyetu sa vivaksham apekshate. Vakyetu sa vivaksham apekshate. There it is optional, which means within a particular sentence. In a particular sentence, there are different words. From one word to another word, sandhi can be split. So that is where we need to understand. So there we can split it. The other place where we can split it is where yati is. Because there we are ending the vakya. That same rule occurs. Vakya, when we are taking a break, which means we are putting a break over there, a pause over there. Therefore, it qualifies as two different places. So therefore, within a vakya, we can break the sandhi. Then what we will learn further, these are some of the points we need to understand while we are chanting during Parayanam. The sandhis must not be broken. Many are places what happens because of the script, the is given as the half makara is given as and a is separated. I think we can give an example for that. Apurnamastu. Apurnamastu. Apurnam astu. It gets combined together as apurnamastu. That means the anunasika apurnam is getting a halantya makara, half makara, and astus a is getting combined into a purna makara. So apurnamastu it has become. What happens while Parayanam? I may split as apurnam, astu. That should not be done. because they are fused together because of the closeness. That means that they should be chanted very closely, less than Ardhamatra Kala, right? That is how they qualify for a Sandhi. So they should not be split. So where should we split? This helps us to understand. So संहितैकपदे नित्या नित्या धातूपसर्गयोः नित्या समासे वाक्ये तु सा विवक्षाम अपेक्षते. So this must be understood. Within a vakya we can do it. We should not separate. Sandhi vichheda should not be done within a particular word, within a particular dhatu and upasarga. It should not be done within a samasa as well. So these are the four ways in which a particular sandhi occurs. One is through adesha, next is through agama, next is through lopa, and then prakriti bhavaha. Out of that, we need to understand where sandhi should be used, where sandhi vichheda must take place. This is important for Parayanam in particular. So there we need to understand the sandhis will not change their meanings because it is only the varna's closeness that is resulting into a sandhi. And then it can happen at some places compulsorily, at some places it is just optional. And we cannot do the sandhi vichheda if it is within a word, if it is between a dhatu and upasarga, or if it is within a samasa. Where do we have the power to make the sandhi vichheda? Only when it is within a particular vakya, or when we are facing a yati to make it chandobhata. That's all. So what are the three kinds of sandhis that we will see? We will see swara sandhi, vyanjana sandhi, and visarga sandhi. So before understanding that, we will go through with the sutras, because sutras will be easier to understand where the adesha, agama, etc. comes. But before that, we need to, these sutras in Ashtadhyayi is not given like this. It is not given in an explanation that we can understand. Sutras are very small. So Saravad it is. So it comes as a small instruction. Go there, come here, etc. For that, we need to understand certain samskaras we need. What is that? We need to understand what is Maheshwara Sutrani. What is this Maheshwara Sutrani? The story is simply that when Panini Maharshi, he was in a Gurukula, and there was also another student in his Gurukula called Vararuchi or Katyayana. And in that Gurukula, what happens is Katyayana is a brilliant student, more brilliant than Panini. So for that, the teacher always keeps praising him, etc. Panini gets really upset about that. He's like, I don't want to study here anymore. So he leaves the ashrama and he is going out somewhere in the jungle, in the Aranya. He's moving about. There he comes across Sanaka Maharshi. You've heard of Sanaka Maharshi. Sanaka Maharshi is sitting over there. Actually, Sanakadi, it says, so it can mean all the four brothers. Sanaka, Sanat Kumara, etc. There are four brothers are there. So we've read about that before Jaya Vijaya gets that Shapa and they manifest into Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Sanakadi Siddham. So there, they are all doing tapas. One achara that we have is that when a guru is there, any guru, he doesn't necessarily have to be my guru. When a rishi is there in tapas, or when we come across any guru, we have to give our prostration for that. We have to do our namaskaras to him. We have to take his ashirwad, then only we have to go forward. But because they are in deep meditation, here Sanaka only we are taking because it mentions that way, the story. So he is in deep meditation and we are not supposed to disturb anybody who's in deep meditation. So Panini also, he cannot move, he cannot go forward. So what should I do now? So he is like, okay, let me also sit and do tapas. That's all. So he is also now in deep meditation. Now this Sanaka Maharshi, he is meditating on Mahadeva for some reason. So he is in deep meditation to Nataraja. And after some point of time, Nataraja manifests. Mahashiva in his Nataraja form manifests. And then what he does is, he takes his Dhamaru to wake up Sanaka Maharshi, who is in deep tapas. He starts beating the Dhamaru. With that Dhamaru, what happens is, there comes out 14 different sounds. Now, because Panini Maharshi is also in deep meditation, because he was sitting right over there, those words, those sounds, that Dhamaru sounds, it starts to separate itself. They start to separate itself, and they come out as varnas, different varnas. So this shloka is that complete story. Nrittavasane nataraja rajo nanada dhakkam navapanchavaram uddharthukamah sanakadi siddhan etadvimarshe shivasutrajalam. So Nrittavasane, in the avasana of Nritya, in the posture of Nritya, Nataraja appears. Nanada dhakkam, he starts moving his this thing, Dhamaru, dhakkam. Navapanchavaram, 14 times he does it. Then what happens? He does it what? Not for Panini's sake. He has not, Nataraja has not come to please Panini, or he's not come there to grant Panini's wish. He has come for whom? Uddhartu kamaha sanakadi siddhan. For the sake of Sanaka Maharshi's, pleased by Sanaka Maharshi's tapas, he has come, he has manifested. He comes and he starts beating his Dhamaru. Then at that etad vimarshe Shivasutra jalam, it the varnas, the sound, it starts to separate itself into syllables, because for Panini, he is hearing, he is in deep meditation, he is not seeing anything. The sound that comes into him, it separates itself into these kind of syllables, and that brings out something called as Maheshwara Sutrani. What are these Maheshwara Sutrani? These are the Maheshwara Sutrani. A, I, Un, Rl, Rak, Eout, Eon, Ayouch, Hayavarat, Lan, Ngamananam, Jabhan, Khadadash, Jabagadadash, Khapachatata, Chatatau, Kapai, Shashasar, Hal. So, if we chant it slowly, it actually sounds like some some that beating sound, that strings, you know how a dhakka is, right? Where dhamaru, two strings are attached to two different drums, so that the sound can be with respect to when he beats like this. The sounds can be with respect to two beads with the strings attached. It can be that strength, that the string pulled and then goes, hits the drums, comes back. So the sound, it deconstructed like this, it seems. So these are very important to us. Ion, Ralrak, Aeon, Ayouch, Hayavarat, Lan, Nyamananam, Jabhan, Ghadadash, Jabagadadash, Kapachatata, Chatatau, Kapai, Chashasar, Hal. So these are some things that we have to absolutely know. We have to know this to understand the sutras. Why? Because this has been used to frame the sutras. How? This is the speciality. There are something called as pratyaharas. Pratyaharas means we see that over here, a, I, u. After that, there is a half na. These are halantyam. These are it sanyas, they are called as. These are adarshanam. These are lopaha. So they are silent. They are not to be considered. They are not the actual varnas. What are the actual varnas? A, I, U, R, R, A, O, I, O, Ha, Ya, Va, Ra, L, Nya, Ma, Nya, Na, Na, Jha, Bha, Gha, Dha, Dha, Ja, Ba, Ga, Da, Da, Kha, Pha, Cha, Tha, Ta, Cha, Ta, Ta. That's all. Vakara is not there. Then Kappa, Chashasa, Ha. So these are the actual varnas. So what are these then? That ik, ch, all those things. These are the itsanyas used to make pratyaharas. Pratyaharas means abbreviations. How do we do it? So we say, take it like this. These are the 42 pratyaharas that usually come. What is that? Ak pratyahara. In ak pratyahara, what all varna comes? It starts from a, ends with ka. So a, e, u, r, r. These things are a part of that particular ak pratyahara. So he made abbreviations saying that these varnas from this point to this point will be replaced with something else like that. That is how it is. The sutras are made. For example, yen sandhi has the sutra of iko yanachi. Iko yan achi. Yan and ach. Yen here we'll see. Yen, when we see, where does it start? It starts with hayavarat. Ya starts from over here. Ya to na, yen. Ya, va, ra, la. Ta should not be considered. So these varnas are there. Okay. So iko, ik. Ik means over here starting from e. A, e, no. Ik, e, to k. So e, u, r, l. Achi, ach, a, to cha. A, E, U, R, R, A, O, I, O. All these things are a part of Ach. So, Ach Varnas. When we say Ajanta, it means those letters ending with all the swaras. Ajanta. Halanta means Hakara, when starting from Hayavarat and ending with La, all the Vyanjanas. So, when the words end with swaras, they are called as Ajanta. When they end with all the Vyanjanas, they are called as Halanta. Halanta. Now, these three Bhedas that we have, Swara Sandhi is also called as Ajanta Sandhi, Vyanjana Sandhi is also called as Halanta Sandhi, and Visarga Sandhi remains as it is. So like this, he has made 42 different kinds of pratyaharas, abbreviations, to contain which letter, which varna are we talking about. Because when we are talking about Sandhi, it is nothing but one varna getting replaced by other varna or one varna getting another varna. So the conditions also required to understand which varna should we use and then which varna is going to come. So this way, he has made his sutras. Therefore, it is extremely important to by heart or to know this Maheshwara Sutrani completely. It has to be, it is the first 101 of Samskrita Vyakarana. This will be the class, but we will, if anybody is ready to chant the Maheshwara Sutrani, we will chant a few times and then we will conclude the session.
I'll chant now.
Astu Bhagini.
I bun, ril, a om, I out, hayavarat, lan, namagananam, jabhai, ghadadhash, jabagadash, kapha chatatau, kapai, sar, hal.
Correct, Bhagini. Just one this thing, Jabhan and Ghadadash, all are Mahapranas.
Oh, okay. Jabhai, ghadadhash.
हाँ धन्यवाद भगिनी. Yes, Sapna Bhagini.
Namaste, Mahodaya.
Namaste Bhagini.
I'll give it a try.
Hmm.
Ayun, Eldrick, Ayaw, Ayouch, Hayavarat, and Yamananam, Jabad, Ghadadash, Jaba Gadadash, Kapha Chatav, Kapaya, Shakshasar, Hal.
Here, nya, ma, nya, na, nam.
This is a bit difficult. Yamanana, Yamananam. Yama, Yamananam.
Don't separate your teeth. Nya, ma, nye, na, nam.
Yamananam.
Yes. Anybody else?
Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad. So it's fine if anybody doesn't want to chant this today, but going forward in any of these sessions, we'll be using the sutras. So better to practice it once. Astu. Dhanyawad. Any doubts or any such thing before we conclude the session?
May I try, Master?
Yeah, go ahead. Buddy.
Ayun Kruluk I ouch Haya Varat Lan Nyamanyananam Jabang Kapadash
Gadadash.
sorry Gadadash Jabagadash Kapachatata Tatau
Kapachata all are Mahapranas.
Yes,
Kapha
Chata Chatatau Kapai Shashar Hal. Dhanyawad.
Dhanyawad, Bhagini. Yes. Anybody else?
Yes, Mahadaya. The Prakriti Bhava Sandhi. Mahadaya, it is like, how do you come to know that the...
there are conditions. Basically, now we learned that there are, by Vikalpena it happens. Usually, the Nimitte Satyapi. So, there has to be conditions. Usually, there will be conditions for some Sandhi to come. But it has to be stopped by another sutra. There will be a Vidhi Sutra saying that, no, this will not come over here for so reason. They will give that reason. Only then it will stop. There is a list of Sandhis and where it gets, that is also very clearly given. Because we have just started it out, I've just given the meaning and I've not used the sutras for it. That's all. Dhanyawad. Astu. Shall we conclude the session then? स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृतेः स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। धन्यवादः सर्वेभ्यः।
धन्यवादः महोदय।
धन्यवादः।
धन्यवादः महोदय।
Tomorrow's session,